In 1977, in the vicinity of the Brazilian city of Colares, a mass wave of UFO sightings and reports of unknown flying objects and creatures began, attacking people. A mass hysteria broke out, lasting for months, during which hundreds of people were injured, many of whom died. This hunt for humans, which lasted for months, forced the Brazilian military to investigate and launch an operation called Prato. Welcome back to the Metacognition channel. Some people among you have a romanticized vision of visitors from other worlds, believing them to be our cosmic brothers, observing humanity's development as benevolent beings who wish us no harm. Although many events and witness statements suggest such a scenario, what do we make of the other side of the coin? What do we make of the events in Brazil, which lasted for months and for which there is no doubt that they really occurred? Thousands of witnesses to these dark events, reports, and investigations by the Brazilian military confirm these occurrences in over 2,000 documents, 500 photographs, and 16 hours of video material, along with statements from one of the main witnesses and the leader of Operation Prato, Captain Joe Hollanda. This is one of the most significant events in ufology that cannot be ignored. In 1977, in the vicinity of Colares, a UFO wave began. Local residents reported luminous objects of various shapes and sizes, some of which had never been seen before. Some witnesses described seeing unknown beings about 1 meter tall through openings that looked like windows of these craft, beings of a type we have encountered on this channel. These objects sometimes flew just a few meters off the ground, sometimes at several dozen meters above the tree canopy, emitting beams of bright white light like laser beams onto helpless people on the ground. According to witnesses, these laser beams were about 7 to 8 centimeters in diameter, striking people and leaving burn marks and lesions on their bodies, causing intense pain, some describing it like the heat of a cigarette butt being extinguished on their skin. People in panic tried to scream but couldn't make any sound. They were paralyzed. Some lost their hair, and permanent scars were left from these attacks. And don't think for a second that this is some made-up story to scare children. These events happened, and what's even more terrifying is that countless witnesses exist. I won't be able to mention them all in this video. One of the key witnesses was biologist Daniel Rabiso, who treated over 40 victims of these attacks, 2 of whom later died. This man later wrote a book describing these events titled Alien Vampires in the Amazon. The local people referred to these light crafts in the sky as chupa chupa, which literally means the sucker. These events lasted for months, and in panic, the local population began fleeing their homes and shelters. The Brazilian military finally decided to intervene, launching Operation Prato, which means Operation Plate. The investigation was led by Captain Joe Hollanda, a crucial witness we'll talk about shortly. The official investigation lasted 4 months and unofficially continued into 1978. The official report concluded that no unusual anomalies were found in the area, though reports of these incidents spread over thousands of kilometers from the city of São Luís in the east to the city of Manaus in the west. Interesting. No unusual anomalies? Did you expect anything different from the authorities? Meanwhile, the attacks stopped, people returned to their homes, and slowly, the events became legend. That was until 1997, when the commander of Operation Prato, who had retired by then, gave an interview to Brazilian UFO researchers Adamaru Gavardo and Marco Antonio Petit. The researchers were stunned by the information they received. Hollanda gave very precise and accurate descriptions, remembering events as if they had happened just yesterday. He described how he and his team encountered unknown flying objects of various sizes and shapes almost daily, some of which were over 100 meters in diameter. With precise sketches and drawings, he tried to explain what they had seen. The crafts emitted a sound similar to that of an air conditioning unit when operating. Regarding the attacks on the population, which really occurred, Hollanda said the soldiers involved started suffering from various psychological issues and breakdowns after encountering the craft and beings from those crafts. Professional soldiers, mind you. And perhaps this answers a question for those of you who wonder why such things are not made public, or why the existence of extraterrestrial beings is kept secret. But the most interesting part of Captain Hollanda's story is his personal encounter with these beings. In the middle of the night, while sleeping in his bed, the room suddenly lit up with bright white light, and two beings appeared behind him. They were about 1.5 meters tall and wore tight black suits resembling soft scuba gear. Hollanda couldn't see their facial features because they wore light gray masks covering their faces and heads. One of the beings spoke to him in Portuguese with a computer-like metallic voice that echoed. The voice said, "Relax, we won't harm you." Hollanda was terrified, and a few moments later, the beings simply disappeared. The researchers were shocked by the details Hollanda provided, describing events that took place during the 4 months of the Brazilian military's investigation. After the initial interview, they agreed on a follow-up meeting where Hollanda was supposed to reveal more details about Operation Prato. 3 months after the interview, Jurajan Hollanda was found dead, hanging by his bathrobe belt. There was suspicion of suicide, another case of a person dying under suspicious circumstances after going public with such information. Hollanda was telling the truth, and this is not one of those stories where everything depends on whether you believe the witness. Hollanda was speaking the terrifying truth. The seriousness of ufology as a scientific field dedicated to studying these phenomena was demonstrated in 2004 when researcher Guy Art, editor of the UFO magazine Revista, along with colleagues, gathered 36,000 signatures in a petition demanding the release of all secret documents related to Operation Prato, which the Brazilian authorities had, of course, kept hidden. A meeting with 20 Brazilian generals was arranged in May 2004. Have you ever heard of something like this, where military generals meet with UFO researchers and allow them partial access to materials collected during Operation Prato? They allowed the release of about 200 documents and photographs to the public, confirming that Hollanda was telling the truth for which he was almost certainly killed by unknown individuals or organizations in 1997. I fully understand why such things were kept secret for years. Imagine if they had said that extraterrestrial beings were attacking us, and we have no idea why they are here or what they want from us. But don't worry, we have everything under control. Who would feel safe knowing their own military couldn't protect them? It would cause mass panic. One theory put forward to explain these events, aside from extraterrestrial involvement, was that they were part of a secret CIA operation in which LSD was used to contaminate the drinking water, causing mass hallucinations among the population. Some conspiracy theories point to a case in France in 1951 in the small town of Pont-Saint-Esprit, where over 200 people were reportedly poisoned with mercury. 4 people died, and the town descended into chaos, with people having the worst kind of hallucinations, seeing strange beings, monsters, and attacking each other. While the official report stated mercury poisoning, some theorists believe it was LSD contamination, with the CIA secretly testing its effects on a large group of people. However, this LSD poisoning theory has not been proven, and it certainly cannot explain the events in Brazil, which took place over a vast area where all the witnesses reported the same thing. If you're looking for a logical explanation for this case, it doesn't exist. I won't ask you whether you believe what happened, because that's nonsense. These events are reality and fact. But I will ask you something else. What do you think about Operation Prato? What were those beings doing to those people, and why?